Hey everyone, I'm Selena Hill, and this is the new norm on Black Enterprise. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Lecrae, who is best known as a multi-Grammy award-winning platinum-selling artist and a leading figure in the gospel rap movement. To date, he has sold more than 3 million copies and been nominated for 7 Grammy Awards. He is also a New York Times best-selling author, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and the co-owner and president of Reach Records. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lecrae.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Lecrae, you have a lot going on, but I want to start with your new online financial literacy project called Protect the Bag. Where did this concept come from?
Yeah, so I've always been an advocate for closing the wealth gap, and obviously just realizing that the Black community, has $1.4 trillion of buying power, but yet, our money stays in our community for 6 hours. And so we're not expanding our community. We're not helping to grow our community or our understanding. And I was like, man, how do I teach our people more about financial literacy in a way that I could understand? Because I need to understand it in a better way. And so I had worked with Experian on a housing project, and that opened up the avenue to talk about doing something along these lines. So my production company, my business partner, Adam Thomason, and I just came up with the concept of Protect the Bag and just teaching some financial literacy principles. And this is what you get.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I know in one episode you spoke with basketball player Michael Porter Jr., and you had asked him about his relationship with money as a child. And I thought that was such a great question. So I wanted to ask you, what was your relationship with money as a child?
Yeah, I was really fortunate to see a lot of mistakes happen. And obviously it's unfortunate for my family, but I saw the mistakes, and my mother was able to teach me from her mistakes. Her mistakes with credit helped her understand how the credit bureaus worked, and helped me to learn it to, not get a bunch of credit cards and to check my credit. But I didn't know much else than just to save and have a checking account and a savings account. That was pretty much all I knew. And so, for the most part, it was like, all right, I'll save a little bit, but then just spend it, and that was it, So it's kind of like, I want the shoes. As long as I got a little bit of my savings account, I go buy the shoes. And there was so much more I could have learned.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually wanted to ask you, what was some of like the biggest financial mistakes you made and the lessons you learned from that?
Yeah, honestly, I've been very fortunate to not go off the deep end financially. A lot of people don't know this, but I was a creditor when I was in school. So my part-time job, while I was going to school, was being a creditor. So I was calling people saying, you need to pay your bill, big dog. But what I learned in that was I learned how to talk to our people, because it was, disproportionately African Americans on the other end of the phone. And I would learn how to talk to them and help them understand what was going on. And it helped me understand at the same time, so that I wouldn't make some crazy decisions. And so, man, I have, it's taken me a long time to just do something outlandish financially. I've just been reinvesting again and again and again. And so I can't say I just went off the deep end financially.
You're also a family man. You have 3 beautiful children, a wife. What are some of the financial lessons that you're imparting to them?
Yeah, I always teach my kids, have more assets than liabilities. I want to have, for myself personally, like 7 streams of income, because if something's not working, something else will be working. If 2 things aren't working, something else is still working. And so I always tell them, most of us have too many liabilities. We got car notes, we got mortgages, we got bills, and we have maybe one asset, like one thing that's bringing us income. And so I'm always explaining to them to have more things bringing you money than things taking your money away. So hopefully, that'll get drilled into their heads as they, reach adulthood, and they'll be able to put that stuff in practice.
Absolutely. So, Lecrae, I don't know if you recall, but when I had met you at the Revolt Summit in Atlanta, I had asked you about Coming in Hot, which is such a huge, huge success. It is viral all over TikTok and Instagram. It really hit off with millennials and Gen Z. And I had asked you, like, did you foresee the success, and have you prepared for it? Because I can only imagine how many more bags you secured after that. So can we talk about it here as well?
Yeah, it was awesome to be able to be a part of that, and just to see, everybody from Gabrielle Union to, literally everybody. There's nobody who didn't use that song. I saw it on LeBron James' feed. I saw it on Steph Curry's feed. It's everywhere. Will Smith. And so, I feel very fortunate to be able to connect with people. And for me, that's really what it's about. It's being able to connect with people, regardless of the generation or age group, to connect with them so that they can see me as somebody that, they can come back to and they can learn more from, and I can continue to contribute and give back to the culture. But yes, that was an asset, not a liability for the kids. So I'm very, very grateful.
So where do you go from there? Like, how do you take, because you've reached new audiences with
Sure.
it, right? So how do you take and leverage that in your career now? How have you been leveraging it?
Well, sometimes it's lightning in a bottle, and you don't try to capture lightning in the bottle twice. You just stay consistent. And that's what I've done for my whole career is I've just stayed consistent. And so I've always had something happening at some point in time in what I've had going on. And I've been very fortunate, being an artist is like being an athlete. You got this window of opportunity, and my window's been open for a while. So I'm very grateful. I'm gonna just stay consistent. I got a new project on the way out called No Church in a While. And we'll just keep banging it out, keep pushing more music out, seeing what happens.
Right. It's a collaborative album that you have coming out. Can you actually tell us what we can expect from No Church in a While?
Yeah, so No Church in a While, like you said, is a collaborative project with 1K Few, who's an artist that I signed, who's phenomenal, Zaytoven kind of was his mentor early on. And so we linked up, and he's just incredibly talented, a young Pharrell, who's got an incredible mind and some of the stuff that he creates. But we wanted to put out something because we just felt like, especially like you said, Gen Z and millennials, have this unique relationship with church. And so let's talk about that, and let's be honest about it. Some people feel abused, misused. Some people don't think it's necessary. Some people think it's their end all be all. And so the pandemic has kept us away. So let's make some music to just talk about that divide and that relationship and just be honest.
Oh, yeah, no, let's definitely talk about that. I think statistically, millennials as a generation are going to church much less, Black millennials included. And I'm glad you mentioned church hurt. People talked about that, abuse in the church and other practices. What do you think is really turning off those of us who were raised in church, but now as adults are steering away from the church?
Yeah, I honestly think, the idea of this community was supposed to be like for the benefit of the people and not to take from the people. It's to give to the people, it's to serve the people. And I think they've seen it more as a consumer culture. And so, it's kind of like, well, if it's a consumeristic idea and I'm coming to, exchange money for a service or a play or a show, I may not really want that. That's not really what I'm interested in. So why would I go to a show or a play every Sunday that I'm not interested in? There's other things that I'd rather do. And so when you stop serving them and helping the community grow, then you're not benefiting them. So if this is not a place where people are visiting you in a hospital because you got COVID, or surrounding you because you're going through some tough things, or helping you through a breakup or a death or a loss, then it's kind of an inauthentic community, and you're really just going and taking a seat and putting some money in a pot and watching the show on stage. And so we got to transition from the consumeristic show to an actual community that helps people thrive.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you mentioned being in the community, because you were in the prisons even during COVID. You're in the streets. You're always meeting the community where they're at. What does the church need to do to really meet the community and also meet this generation of millennials and Gen Z, because we see things very differently than older generations?
Right. Yeah, I think, part of it is being what the church was designed to be. Like I am the church. 1K Few is the church, and we're making this mixtape for folks who, a little ratchet, a little righteous. You know what I mean? And so we're we're out here, we're in the prisons, we're in the streets, we're in the community, and that's really what the church is supposed to be doing. So we're still doing the work, and there's people who are doing the work. They just may not get the prominence or the highlight. And listen, I'm just going to be honest. As long as you have those people, those folks from that building or institution in your life, then maybe you don't need to go to a building every Sunday. You just need to be connected to those people on a regular basis. I think having those, it's about the people, not the building. So, I know that's different. That's not the answer a lot of people want to hear me say, but that's just how I feel. It's about the people, not the building.
Yeah. No, I think that message definitely does resonate. And you've resonated with so many people, through your music, through the work that you've been doing. But one thing I really want to touch on is just like your family, because that's also a big part of not only who you are, but you've made it a part of your brand. How do you sort of balance the work and your commitment to Christ and doing work and music, and also your commitment to your family?
Family's first, straight off the gate. Like if obviously, like if I can talk about all the stuff I'm doing outside and I'm not doing it inside, then we got a problem. You know what I mean? So obviously there's no perfect family, there's no perfect marriage. But we walk out our imperfections in front of the world so that they see us. We're not just giving people a highlight reel. You know what I mean? And so what kind of investment you make in your house is the kind of investment you're gonna get on the outside. And my saying is, I always say, the light that shines the furthest shines the brightest at home. So if my light ain't shining in my house, it's not gonna shine outside of my house. So that's been a big piece of it. I didn't grow up with my father. I come from a broken home. I experienced abuse and neglect and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And so I don't want to repeat that cycle. So in order to not repeat the cycle, I got to be good attention.
Yeah. And then like on top of all of that, how do you manage to still stay creative? Because, that can sometimes be a task on its own. So how do you do that?
Sometimes you got to do stuff that forces you to be creative. For me, it's staying connected, like you said, in the community and doing some stuff that, I don't have to do, but it's good for me to do. It's like riding the bus. It's like you remember that hunger of what it was like, when you was 17, you was riding a bus. And so sometimes, I get on a city bus, I'll jump in the back of the plane and just be back there smashed up. It helps for me. It helps my mental thrive, and to just see that hunger people have to like see something new, and it's the little things, that's just something that for me has been very special. And then of course, just keeping some younger friends around me who are, experimenting and trying new things, and just staying around them so that I'm staying, keyed into the creative components.
So we may get a chance to sit next to you on a bus, or maybe Absolutely. In the back of a plane.
Hey, listen, it happens more than you would know. Some people are like, Lecrae. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? It's a little easier with the masks these days, but yeah, I flew to LA, and I had a first class flight, and I wanted to catch an earlier flight. It was like, oh, we have a standby. I was like, I'll run it. And it was like, but we can't put you in first class. I was like, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you in the back of the plane. I was like, run it. Put me in the back of the plane. And I just sat back there, baby's crying, everybody's shouldered up, but it's good for you. It keeps you humble, it keeps you grounded, and it does spark creativity, because you just see stuff that you otherwise wouldn't see,
Yeah. As you're talking, and we're talking about creatives, and we also know, like, obviously you're a man of faith, I can't help but to think of Kanye and the Donda album, right? I actually wanted to get your feedback on that. And is there any way we could expect a collaboration between you and Kanye?
Yeah, we run in similar circles, and, we have a lot of the same friends. I just think that, when it comes to Ye, he's got a unique perspective. You know what I'm saying? And you can't pin him down with like, yeah, he's going to be Kanye, and he's going to think in different, the way his brain is going to work that's the way he's going to be. So I respect him as a creative, but also as a human being, and as somebody who is trying to figure out who God has created him to be. I just want the best for him. So more than anything for Ye, I'm not so much interested in like, yeah, let's do music together. I'm more along the lines of like, how can I help you be a better version of yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like as far as mental health, as far as spiritual health, like I really just pray for the best for him. And anytime I'm around, that's all I would be concerned with is just his health.
How did you deal with your own mental health? I mean, you've had quite the struggle. You touched on it earlier about dealing with some childhood trauma and
Yeah.
abuse and neglect. What's your mental health process been like?
For a lot of us in the Black community, it's something that we are just now starting to touch on, but a lot of us are affected and traumatized by it. A lot of people don't realize when you grow up in a marginalized community, there's all types of unnecessary traumas that happen. I have a lot of family members who've been incarcerated or currently incarcerated or gangs. They deal with a lot of mental health struggles because of the exposure that they've had to different things. And so for me, I had to step up and say, I'm not going to be afraid to go to counseling. I'm not going to try to just push this thing off. I'll do whatever it takes to become healthier. And so it's just putting certain practices in order. And I think that's what we got to do as a community. We highlight so many things, but we really need to start highlighting the importance of taking care of your mental health.
I think that's been one of the biggest issues or something that we've been highlighting, especially during the pandemic, Lecrae. Like everyone was looking for outlets to just deal with this pandemic, the global pandemic, on top of everything else that was happening, specifically in 2020 and 2021. It's been better, but it definitely not the norm that we're used to. How have you been managing in this new norm?
Yeah, part of it is just taking some healthy steps. So one, I don't think people realize the effect that social media has on your mental health. We're not equipped to handle multiple voices critiquing us, criticizing us. The dopamine levels that jump up when we get likes are the opposite of that is when we don't get them. We feel a lack of dopamine or a lack of serotonin, which creates depression inside of a lot of people. So we're constantly exposing ourselves to this mental game. And it's not so for me, I have to take social media breaks. I have to get sunshine, go for walks, exercise regularly to have a regular sense of dopamine and endorphins going through my body. I meditate, just whatever I have to do to get out of that cycle that is really causing a lot of problems. Like, I don't think people realize like anxiety and depression are spiked. The records are through the roof. And it's not just the pandemic, it's so many other elements contributing to that.
And, I know we only have a few more minutes, but, when you talk about depression and how it is spiking, you've also been very transparent about dealing with clinical depression yourself. What helped you through that time and what advice can you share with us?
Yeah, get help. You know what I mean? Like, do not be afraid to get help. A lot of us try to do it on our own. And listen, you would never, if you had a heart attack or you had heart issues, you wouldn't be like, I'll just figure it out. Like, you would go to a heart specialist, and your brain is not just like, it's not your soul. Your brain is an organ inside of your head. You got to take care of that organ. And so that the things you eat, the things you're thinking, all of those things affect your brain. So you should talk to specialists. You want to talk to your general health practitioner, but then you also want to talk to a therapist if it gets really bad, and a psychiatrist, and folks who can really help you. There's nothing wrong with medicine. If you got to take medicine, take it. Sometimes it's like a cast for your brain, to help your brain heal. So you wouldn't say, I can't take this heart medication or this cancer medication. You would take it so that you can be better. And some of us have to take medication to equalize our brain and to get our serotonin levels right. And it doesn't have to be for forever. So we just have to stop stigmatizing all these particular things, stigmatizing therapy and medication and meditation and all those particular things. They're all helpful for you. And, what the goal is health. The goal is not trying to be off meds. The goal is not trying to not see a therapist. The goal is health. Are you mentally healthy? Whatever you got to do to be there, be there.
Lecrae, if you can, before we let you go, if you can just let us know how we can access the new album that's coming out, how we can watch Protect the Bag, and just tap into all of the projects you're doing, because they're all about creating a more positive, healthy community.
Yeah, I just want us as a Black community, I want us to thrive, not just survive. So obviously, No Church in the Wild is a project. You can get that tape anywhere on December 5th. It is out everywhere. So make sure, I'm sorry, December 3rd is out everywhere. So make sure you go stream it on all streaming platforms available. Also, Protect the Bag, the series, a new episode drops every Tuesday on YouTube. So you go to my YouTube channel, Lecrae, and watch an episode of Protect the Bag. And yeah, man, just stay tuned. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you follow me, I will lead you somewhere. I promise you. So I love y'all, and I'm here for y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lecrae. We appreciate your time and the work that you're doing.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
You got it.